Hey everybody, it's me, Sven Sharpen here, bringing you day number 173 of Let's Talk About Autism. Before we get started, I would love you to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below the video. It would help me out tremendously. So, in today's video, I'll be talking about how the diagnostic process for autism, the criteria, while it's not bad, it's certainly not great either. So, what we're talking about is, if you look at the CDC or the DSM-5, which, the CDC kind of gets it off the DSM-5, usually we look at communication and socialization deficiencies. We have repetitive motions and behaviors and fixed interests and sameness and, a lot of these traits that tend to be associated with autism, which is fine, but there's a very big absence of any of the strengths of autism, and not to mention many of these, largely negative characteristics are much less present, much less pronounced in females and grown adults, which includes adult men. Whereas little boys would have a harder time covering up those traits, masking them, which means you have this massive overdiagnosis of boys and then this underdiagnosis of girls and adults alike. Like a little boy like the boy I used to be, my autism diagnosis came just because my speech came in a little later than average. That's all it took. Whereas a girl would have a really hard time getting diagnosed even if they tried hard to, and an adult. Even an adult male would have a hard time getting diagnosed because he'd be an adult. So it's a really flawed process, and because of the world's response to diagnosis of autism, we have this massive over-treatment of boys, while a lot of girls who might still struggle with some of these things will go untreated, which is a whole struggle all in its own. So yeah, it's a real problem. Not to mention vaccine injury will have a lot of stuff in common. Like, it'll have some of these negative traits without any of the positive characteristics of autism. So vaccine injury typically gets lumped in as autism, and that's how you end up with this sort of autism epidemic that people are talking about. Like, I watched the Trump and RFK and the people at that press conference that happened today, and there's these links of Tylenol and, these vaccines, and they're coming up with the solutions. And, it's great that they want to help us, but it's like, well, maybe we should diagnose vaccine injury as separate so that we're not going to treat a person with not much struggle overly with this massive amount of intervention that's really just going to cause more harm than good. So, and for most, many people, the difference is negligible. Even if you struggle with a lot of these things, or if any at all, you might struggle with them, but it's so little that, the difference is negligible and you're never going to get diagnosed. And, some of the positive characteristics, again, they've been documented for many hundreds of years throughout history, and even some of the negative ones. But because there was no issue, there was no reason to diagnose people. So, that's kind of a whole thing entirely. But because people are being diagnosed, the reason for that is because there is something wrong, and it's good that we have a diagnosis for it, but the process of diagnosing it and the criteria for it are just flawed, considering the differences in biology between the sexes, as well as the differences between child and adult in how these, sort of issues are pronounced. So that's really what it is, and we should definitely improve it. The test hasn't even changed for the last 25 years. So there's certainly needs to be updated in a way. So yeah, that was day 173. I'll see you on day 174. Thank you very much for watching this video, and goodbye.